Welcome. Thanks very much if you've just joined us, and if you've been here all day, then well done you, because you've been at the sexiest and most entertaining of the stages at the Web Summit. We have a brilliant afternoon of content lined up for you as well this afternoon. Paige Van Sant's going to be here, the Managing Director of Manchester United is going to be here, and we have a couple of brilliant panels left for you in the morning session as well. We're going to hear from the ins and outs of how Benfica are using technology specifically to help elongate the playing careers of some of their players, and how that filters all the way down to their youth system as well. But on that issue of how much sport has been open to embracing technology, that's our next panel, because as an industry, sport has been in very significant pockets, and in all the major sports, been relatively reluctant to embrace and improve how games are played, viewed, and analysed. While the industry is catching up, is there still a fear out there, and why? What are the reasons for this? Here to explore, please welcome to the stage, in conversation with Matt Gooderick of Thomson Reuters, are Angela Ruggiero of the Sports Innovation Lab, Annemiek van Vleuten of Mitchelton Scott, and Polaris Sports' Luís Correia.
First of all, can we give a round of applause to Annemiek for making it up those stairs? That was impressive. Is sport still skeptical of technology? Sport and tech, you'd think they often go hand in hand, but it doesn't often work out that way. So let's try and understand why and work out what the future holds. Thanks for joining us, Annemiek, Luís, and Angela. Angela, I'm going to start with you, if that's okay. Your company, the Sports Innovation Lab, the first market research company focused on that intersection between sport and technology. So if you will, give us a current overview of the sport tech market.
Sure. So I was a four-time Olympian in ice hockey, spent several years on the business of sports, started this company because this question, tech disrupting sports, both on the field and off the field, is hitting us. That's why we're here today. So we started a global research company to dissect what that looks like. What we've done is map the world. It's a massive, massive, scalable space right now. We've seen over 4,000 companies, and that really bundles up into what's going on with the athlete. We call that quantified athlete. What's happening in the venue. That's our smart venue practice. How is media and broadcast being disrupted through other platforms, other ways to distribute content? How are sponsors and brands now reaching consumers through technology? And then last but not least, you can't help but talk about esports and really studying what esports is doing in and of itself. It's a digital-first platform. So we have 120 sectors within those companies that we found. And that's, again, facial recognition. You could think about blockchain, all these new technology solutions making their way into sports and really transforming the athlete, right? Creating the athlete of the future, but fundamentally transforming the fan of the future and what the fan demands. And that really is a fascinating space that we could dive into.
Yeah, a lot to cover. You say because of technology, sport as we know it will dramatically change over the next 15 years. How exactly?
The fan of the future is going to demand more, and if traditional sports entities are relying on paper tickets and our long-term broadcast rights and our long-term sponsor rights and some merchandise, like that is disrupted by technology. The fan of the future is more engaged. They want to be social. They want to have. They want sport to be given to them. They demand an experience with that, and so tech is that medium that's going to provide that new wave of platform and frankly allow sports to compete with every other form of entertainment. I mean, I watch Netflix on the weekend, and I'm a massive sports fan. It's personalized. It's given to me when I want it, how I want it, and the sports of the future will see those trends and actually adopt accordingly.
Yeah, Luís, let's speak about the sports stars, the players on the pitch. How has tech allowed athletes to benefit in comparison to previous generations?
Well, The obvious one is social media. So through technology, they are able to communicate directly with the fans and sending their own message. And then what else is happening? The fan landscape has been broadened. So it's not the local core fans that follows the team and now follow the stars, but it's worldwide. So on one hand, technology allows them to be closer to the fans and for the fans to feel the experience. And on the other hand, the improvement, the highest quality of technology allows them to create better content, better ways to communicate, and exactly what Angela said. So the fans feel closer and get a better experience of the game.
And do you find players are embracing technology enough, or do you find from your side it is a bit of a battle to get them to create this content and to spend time on it?
No, it depends on everyone, but sportsmen, the older ones have 30, so they've grown with technology, and we are speaking now about technology to communicate, but then have technology in training, technology in their personal lives. So they are just people of this generation, so they see technology like being a part of their lives and making their life easier.
Annemiek, let's speak specifically about certain sports and cycling with you. Is cycling an example of how sport can succeed if a sport truly embraces technology, as cycling has done?
I think in cycling we are aware that we need to get the fans engaged more, because we don't cycle on a specific venue like tennis or soccer. So there are a lot of things going on in cycling to share the data. So, for example, if I have a training ride or if I have a race, I upload my ride on Strava, and people after are racing against me. So they check my times, and they are aware that, oh, women actually cycle pretty fast uphill, for example.
I mean, that's great. And Angela, that's kind of a new area in terms of a fan being able to compete with a sports star.
Yeah, the data coming off the athlete for training, and there's hundreds of these companies now, think wearables, think sensors. That's first and foremost for training, but now that data is really interesting for fan engagement. To your point, Strava, now I can compare how I'm competing, and we're going to see this data first be developed to help the athlete, because to be honest, a lot of these companies are developing technology for healthcare, bigger markets they want to serve, but the data for sports betting, or the data is going to be used now for media and digital streaming. So it's definitely interesting for you to get credibility and to engage with your fans.
Yeah, and it's motivating for me to get more fans engaged, especially for women's cycling. I mean, I'm aware that I need to get more fans. And on one hand, you don't want to share all your data, maybe, because that's maybe a bit on the conservative part of some sports. They're conservative to share all the data, but for example, I asked my coach, should I share everything? And I said, like, just do it, get fans engaged, and if they do what you do, they always die, so it's not a problem.
Let's speak about all this technology that is available to you, though, because how much is too much technology? Because you know, the finger's pointed sometimes at unfair advantage, so that it's not just humans racing against humans, but actually technology comes into play. How much tech is too much?
Yeah, if it takes away the beauty of the sport, I think that's too much. If it makes it more interesting and more fans get engaged, I think it's a good way to move on. And I think technology can do a good thing with that. Only if it's like gets boring and too. Yeah, if it takes away the beauty of the sport.
Angela, what happens when there is a disconnect between what's happening on the pro sports field compared to what's happening at the grassroots? You know, can there be a disconnect, and can that be worrying if the pro game becomes so inaccessible to the grassroots side of things?
Well, I think tech is allowing more accessibility to content. So you're cyclists, I played ice hockey. Maybe every 4 years you can see me play. Technology is allowing more young kids to see versions of themselves, to follow their favorite teams. Right, you could be a Barcelona fan, you could be an NHL fan anywhere in the world, and follow. So I think it's going to stir more opportunity to serve as role models. Where you're going with the question, are you going to become robots using tech? Like, in some cases, if it's going to give you a competitive edge, absolutely. And you know, will that hurt youngsters? maybe, but I think there's a lot more positive in terms of giving them tools to stay safer, tools to train in a more sports-specific or age-appropriate way.
Luís, this is probably a good moment to speak about VAR. Because you don't get VAR over the Sunday pitches. But just thinking about VAR at the World Cup, your thoughts, success, failure, what have your clients been saying about VAR?
No, listen, I think everybody wants the game to be more accurate, to be less mistakes from everybody involved. So if the VAR reduces dramatically the mistakes, it's good because everybody feels that it's a fair, the competition is fair, so it relies on the effort of the players rather than anyone's mistake. The challenge is, in this case, the beauty of football is exactly that it flows. It's a sport that has movement, so it's a matter of getting the balance between the truths be as accurate as possible and not losing the flow. I think the future will be like technical things like offside or on-goal technology, which don't really depend on the referee's decision, can be done automatically, like a sensor. All the other, they have to create a balance to not to disturb the flow of the game.
People often speak about disturbing the flow, but why has football taken quite so long to embrace technology when you look at sports like cricket and tennis, which have fully embraced it, and it's added to the sport experience, if anything?
I don't think it took too long. First, it's a success case. So football has been the most popular sport in the world for ages. So this slowliness of adapting new technologies has been paying off because it keeps growing. But one thing is not looking what it's ahead of your eyes and not doing the necessary changes. So the debate is why changing a model that's been working for years and where people, fans, athletes are engaged to.
Let's bring Annemiek here, because you're smiling to yourself. I mean, do you look at football and kind of go, wow, you guys, you need to embrace technology more? Us in cycling, we're moving with the times all the time. Do you feel that way?
Yeah, I think it's a sport that they can lean back a bit, like, oh, everyone's following us. And like in cycling, we are aware that we need to improve and get more...
Technology is how we grow.
Yeah, that's how we grow. We need technology and to get more fans engaged, and we cannot lean back because I think doing nothing is going backwards. So technology of soccer is maybe a little bit more conservative in that. I mean, but there's also a difference.
And let's just, Angela, I'll bring you in a minute, Luís. And how much is tradition kind of holding back sports like football?
A lot, in my opinion. I think tradition's great because it at its core, sport has to always be at the center. But we have to embrace technology to stay relevant. Right? If you watch the World Series in the U.S. Last week, 7.5-hour game. Okay, it was one of the longest games ever. But kids don't watch 7.5 hours of anything anymore. How are we speeding up the game? How are we embracing technology for actual engagement with that fan? Right? So you might watch football now and you're passively watching. The fan of the future is leaning in, they're plugging in, they're talking to other people. They're actually, they feel like they're on the field of play. Maybe they're wearing VR, AR glasses. So I think tradition has to respect tradition, but embrace the new and embrace all the solutions that will actually help us compete with the Fortnites of the world and the movie theater and things that they're really engaging that might pull sports fans to other forms of entertainment.
Luís, do you think there's a lot more to come in terms of technology in football?
Listen, I think technology is all over football, and football is embracing technology, because one thing are those 90 minutes in the pitch, a different thing is all that is surrounding football. So you see it from a simple broadcast, second screen, the fans have a different experience in all the aspects of football. Better content is being created, players are more accurate, training is getting better through technology. Even at grassroots, if kids can compare themselves, if they can measure how fast they run, how hard they can kick a ball, if they can compare with the friends, with the teammates, they don't see the sports stars or the game like an impossible thing, but they feel that they are part of it. So technology is all around football, and that's why That's not by chance that the football is by far the biggest sport with social media following, more than any American sport, more than any other sport. So technology is there. Another thing is the board being conservative in those 90 minutes on the pitch. But I think everybody wants technology. Everybody wants to get to the new kids, to the way they speak. So probably changes will be made, but technology, it's all over football.
Okay, aware we've only got 3 minutes left, I want to cover esports, if you will, Angela. How should traditional sports incorporate developments in esports? Which sports do you feel are embracing esports in the correct way?
Yeah, so back to your question, I think traditional sports are scared of technology. They really are. And there are entities out there, there are organizations out there leaning in. And they're looking at esports. Why? One, it could be diversification. If you can't adopt a traditional fan, okay, we can put them, they can play, you know, EA Sports, or they can play esports. What we look at the Sports Innovation Lab is really, why are those young people playing esports and not traditional sports? And again, it's accessible. It's free. If you have a laptop, you can get online. It's interactive, right? You can actually interact with the content. You can donate money. You can be a part. And it's social, I think, is really the last piece, again, I'm going to highlight. You're with your friends. You're talking about things outside of what's going on in esports. You might be talking about how your homework was that day. So esports, in and of itself, we see large sports organizations investing in it. One, they're worried they're not going to get those fans. But two, they're trying to see, well, can we make them fans? Can they play my game online and then make their way into the court and pay for an actual ticket? So it's a dynamic atmosphere. It's digital first, and it's really attractive. But I'm just encouraging the sports industry. We've been a monopoly for so long, and we've had everyone coming to us, and we have to lean in and embrace the tech that's out there and not feel like it's you're going to get it for free anymore.
And Annemiek, how do you view esports as a current sports star? Is it kind of tricky for you to get your head around?
I hope there will be also a physical part in it, like it's not only mental. I think in cycling we have like something like Swift. I can log in on my computer, and then I'm cycling on my tax train on my trainer inside, and then everyone can race and against me, so all over the world. So that's a part of esports that I really think, and of technology, I think we really should develop.
I mean, cycling
more.
probably set up quite nicely for that, because
so we can race to
someone can race you. Wow.
Yeah.
And what about football stars? You know, a lot of football clubs now employing esports players. It's a bit more difficult with football, isn't it?
Well, it's
because it's not about the skills of your feet. It's about, you know,
yeah, but
gaming.
esports, I think it's much more than football. They have one core thing is there. It's about competing. So when you have competition, you have some form of sport. It can be more or less physical, but you have to cope with pressure. You have to be smarter. You have to be faster. So in terms of esports and the regular sports, there will be a merger, even because they speak to different audiences, and they can bring different things. So from one hand, that can be an approach to the traditional sports, playing soccer simulations or car simulations. But I think the market of esports, it's even bigger on the non-sport piece of it. So you don't compete with a better product if you are shooting aliens in a spaceship rather than with football, with cycling. You compete with a better product. So that's a big landscape of esports.
All right, guys, we've run out of time. One final thought from you, Angela, if you will. What's the one innovation that people in the audience here should kind of look out for in terms of future sport tech trends?
Well, you had DAZN on stage earlier. I think over-the-top platforms and ways that looking away from broadcast to non-linear ways. So I would say immersive media is the one track that I think is important. So over-the-top, VR or AR. And in the US, we're looking at betting. I know we have it in Europe, but I think betting will single-handedly revolutionize our industry, because it's going to pressure test the tech in the venue and the ability in live way to get the data coming off the athlete or coming off the pitch to you at home instantaneously, because you don't want to lose out on those odds. So I think betting and over the top or immersive media.
Okay, fantastic, interesting stuff. Annemiek, Luís and Angela, many thanks indeed.
Thank you.